This is 4 guys in the Subaru
XV Crosstrek.
15.
So this is the Outback though, isn't it? It's like a mini Outback.
Yeah, like the Impreza Outback has been for decades. Literally decades now, hasn't it? I mean, when did the first Impreza Outback come to our shores?
It came in the early 90s.
Yeah, they were really far ahead of the game.
Yeah. Those things sold like hotcakes, though. I mean, they were an expensive. They weren't cheap.
Yeah.
And I remember we couldn't afford one. We just got the regular Legacy.
I quite like how Subarus are put together. They always seem quite solid. Very basic and straightforward interior.
Mm-hmm.
With actual buttons and dials.
Actual buttons and dials, including a volume. Oh, hey, that volume dial, it's almost like twirling lobster in a pot of butter. It feels so nice. So what does this compete against then?
It's kind of a middle ground between, Nissan Juke and Chevy Trax, but then also, I mean, considering how much room there is, especially the back seat and a decent sized cargo area, you could probably go up to something like a Ford Escape,
Yeah, I mean, I would even say like, Jetta wagon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You could compete against a Jetta wagon.
It is a very clever idea. I mean, essentially what Subaru did is they took a 5-door Impreza compact car. They jacked the suspension up 3 inches, put a roof rack on it, put the black bumpers on it, and call it an SUV or a crossover. It's a very well put together car, and the engine works very nicely, even though it's just a little tiny 4-cylinder boxer engine. And the suspension's pretty good considering it's jacked up and it's a bit tall and that kind of thing. But really, what lets this thing down is I think the steering, which I think is really flimsy and loose, and it just feels extremely artificial. And I'm usually not picky with steering. I usually can, forgive a lot. But the other thing too is the Cvt transmission. When you put the two of them together, it just feels like there's sort of a lot of slop and wallow in the car. It just, I don't know, it just kind of spoils it.
Well, for me, like Banofsky discovered just a moment ago, the throttle pedal's so twitchy, and it's like, yeah, cool on a Porsche Boxster, awesome, but on a Subaru Outback Impreza, whatever, it's like that doesn't work.
And 60. Yeah, that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not like initially you're like, whoa, this might got some, but that's only lasts for like a millisecond, like a split second, and then you're like, oh god, it's really loud, isn't it?
Quickly on, and let's see how the suspension copes in the Subaru. You know what though?
Whoa! Okay, we're hitting the. I actually think you bottomed out the rear suspension.
Yeah. Also, my rear cheeks definitely left the seating surface there.
You sound like a marketing guy now. I never refer to it as my bum. It's my rear cheeks.
With modern cars, though, given how they're used most of the time, there's always so much capability that just goes unused. Right.
That's absolutely true.
Most people, although they probably don't think it, they're only really using 15 to 30% of their vehicle's capability, especially in the powertrain. Mm-hmm. And so this car with a slightly dodgy transmission and an engine that isn't that powerful, it's kind of like, well, maybe Subaru's just sort of giving you what you really need. Mm-hmm. Then again, when you take it out for that initial test drive, it's gonna sort of let the car down considerably because you'll hammer on it and you'll be like, where is the rest of the engine?
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying is, you read about this Subaru on paper, and even walking around the vehicle, it looks very attractive. It's well put together. There's tons of space in it, and I just feel like when you do that initial test drive, you're going to kind of go, oh, I don't like it as much as I thought I would.
I don't want to belabor the whole CVT thing. I don't like it. There are other manufacturers who do a better job with the CVT, but I will say the CVT does a wonderful job with my driving style in the city to get great fuel economy. I drove this briefly, and I'm getting 10s and 11s on average, whereas in something else I'd be getting 13, 14, and if I actually drove it like a normal human being, I could get something like 9 liters per 100 kilometers.
As far as pricing for the Subaru goes, you're looking at about 24,500 to get into the car, and then it tops out at 30. This one we're driving is a limited, so it's got, you know, the leather seats and the nav and all the toys and that kind of thing. But I mean, standard equipment is still pretty good. You get heated seats, Bluetooth, cruise control, audio controls on the wheel. So I mean, even if you check the box for the base one, you're still going to get a lot of stuff that you want in a car.
Yeah, that's a lot of car for 24 grand.
Mm-hmm.
All-wheel drive included.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Exactly.
Now, will it do the half honk though? Because that's
Yeah,
always the most important thing. Oh,
Yes.
haha!
Yeah, that's nice.
I love the half honk.